the northern parts of Botswana, where the lifeblood of the Okavango Delta meets the influence of the Chobe River, lies a land of profound ecological drama, Savuti. This is not a realm of static borders or predictable rules, but a fluid empire ruled by a force more powerful than any predator: water. At its heart is the Savuti Channel, an enigmatic watercourse with a history of appearing and disappearing for decades at a time. Its flow is dictated by subtle tectonic shifts occurring hundreds of miles away. When the channel flows, as it has in recent years, it breathes life into a landscape once defined by thirst. It transforms the vast sand basin into a realm of temporary paradise, feeding the Savuti Marsh, an extensive wetland that becomes the epicenter of a continent's pulse, drawing vast congregations of wildlife. The very air changes, losing its dry, dusty edge and taking on the thick, damp scent of wet earth and crushed vegetation. During these seasons of plenty, the landscape is a vibrant mosaic of habitats, a testament to the life-giving power, the returning water. The floodplains burst into a sea of nutritious grasses, their green expanse, a stark contrast to the Kalahari sands beneath. Towering giraffes, serene and silent, move like ships on this ocean of grass, in their immense height giving them a perspective no other creature can claim. They browse the tall branches of camelthorn acacias, their long, prehensile tongues delicately plucking the tenderest leaves, largely unconcerned with the dramas unfolding below. The surrounding terrain is a complex mix of dense mopane forests, Colophospermum mopane, thriving in the region's clay-rich soils, and looser sand-veld communities, dominated by silver clusterleaf, Terminalia sericea, and Kalahari appleleaf. Phalaenoptera nelsi. The air in these forests is filled with the distinct, almost conversational calls of yellow-billed hornbills, their large beaks clacking as they forage for insects and fruit. Along these forests, the skeletal forms of long-dead trees rise like silent monuments, relics of past droughts when they grew tall in parched land, only to be submerged by the channel's unpredictable return. This rich and varied tapestry of flora supports an equally impressive diversity of fauna, setting the perfect stage for some of Africa's most intense and compelling wildlife interactions. It is in this time of abundance, when the marsh is full and the grass endless, that the reigning dynasty of this wetland empire consolidates its power. The marsh lion pride, a formidable social unit, honed by generations of survival, holds dominion here. At its core, there is a sisterhood of related lionesses, their lives intertwined by blood and shared purpose. Their leader is the experienced matriarch, Kele. Her existence is dedicated to a single, all-encompassing goal: the continuation of the pride, a burden she shares with her sisters, daughters, and nieces. Their collective strength forms the engine of the pride's success, protecting and raising the next generation. There is the resident male, Mako. He is the embodiment of power, a formidable presence, whose sheer physical strength and deep, resonant roars serve as a bulwark against the constant pressure of outside challengers. His roar is more than a sound. It is a declaration of ownership that rolls across the plains at dawn, a warning to anyone daring to intrude. Mako's roar is a statement of intent, but the true foundation of the pride. is the unbreakable bond of the lionesses. He is a temporary king, a guardian whose reign is measured in seasons. They are the permanent dynasty, the river of blood flowing through generations. His power is a shield for their legacy. But it is a shield he must defend every day. The daily routine of the marsh pride during the rainy season is one of disciplined opportunism. The marsh and surrounding grasslands teem with migratory herds of zebras, wildebeests, and buffalo, drawn from all the arid plains by the promise of abundant water and lush pasture. For Kayleigh and the other lionesses, hunting is a focused and cooperative effort, a ballet of silent communication. With explosive power, they use the cover of darkness or the tall grasses of the swamp, fanning out to surround their chosen target. The chase is a masterclass in patience, every muscle coiled, every sense alert. A flick of an ear or a subtle shift in posture is all it takes to signal the final strike. Their success in bringing down a powerful gemsbok or a stampeding buffalo feeds not only themselves and the formidable male, but also the pack's most vital asset, a new generation of cubs. These small spotted creatures, hidden deep in dense thickets, represent the future of the dynasty, and the soldiers and hunters of the lean times ahead. Their survival is paramount, the ultimate measure of the pride's prosperity. The apparent calm of this season, however, is deceptive. The truth is, this season is not a time of rest, but a critical period of strategic investment. In the Savuti economy, abundance is a debt, and the bill always comes due. The surplus energy gained from an abundance of prey is not squandered on leisure. It is meticulously channeled into long-term survival strategies. Social bonds, the very fabric of their cooperative strength, are reinforced through hours of communal rest and careful grooming. Rough tongues remove flies and reinforce hierarchies. The cubs are not only fed, they are educated. Their seemingly carefree play, jumping on their mother's tail, wrestling with siblings, is a classroom where they hone essential skills of stalking, hunting, and fighting. These are lessons that will one day mean the difference between life and sustenance. The hunting lionesses build and maintain their muscles and stamina, and their bodies becoming finely tuned instruments of the chase. The dominant male conserves his strength, resting in the shade, reserving his immense power for the fierce territorial battles that will inevitably intensify as resources dwindle. Every full belly, which is a deposit against the coming hunger, a foundation upon which the pride's very survival, and during the dry season, will be built. But every kingdom has its shadows, and a different queen watches from the edges of the lion's domain. Another power operates here, governed by a different philosophy and a different social code. This is the realm of the spotted hyena, and its queen is the formidable matriarch Fura. To see the hyena as merely a scavenger, sneaking in the shadows and waiting for leftovers, is to fundamentally misunderstand its position in the intricate political landscape of the Savuti ecosystem. The spotted hyena, Crocuta crocuta, is Botswana's most common large carnivore, a highly successful and deeply intelligent predator. On their own, they are not mere contenders for the throne, they are a rival superpower, waiting for their moment. Hyena society is a complex, matriarchal structure, whose social complexities resemble those of cercopithecid primates. Like baboons, more than other carnivores, the clan is a whirlwind of social politics, led by a dominant female, Fura maintains this position, not only through brute strength but through a web of alliances and sharp social intelligence. Cultivated over a lifetime of interaction, she is physically larger and more powerful than any male in her clan, a complete reversal of the norm seen in most mammals. Males exist in a state of perpetual submission. Their place in the hierarchy is fluid and always secondary to the established female lineage. Communication within the clan is constant and nuanced, a series of howls, laughs, and moans that carry complex information across the plains, mapping the movements of prey and rivals. Their calls are the soundtrack of the African night, a complex language of location, excitement, and challenge. Fura's clan thrives on adaptability, though consummate opportunists, possessing powerful jaws, strong enough to crush the largest bones, and a digestive system that can process hide and shattered skeletons. They are also formidable hunters. They can hunt in coordinated groups to chase and overpower prey as large as adult wildebeests, with exceptional endurance in the pursuit, often surpassing that of their feline rivals. During the rainy season, with abundant migratory prey, they can focus on more stationary targets, such as scattered warthogs digging for roots or the young of impala herds. But their gaze and ambition are never far from the lions. The rivalry between lions and hyenas is ancient and visceral, a direct and relentless competition for the same resources. This conflict is particularly intense in the compressed ecosystem of Savuti, a dynamic, famous and documented by filmmakers and researchers who have witnessed its relentless nature firsthand. A single hyena instinctively fears an adult male lion like Mako, whose sheer power can be overwhelming in a direct confrontation. However, a large and coordinated clan like Fura's will readily harass lone lionesses or small groups, trying to steal the hard-earned prey through an unrelenting campaign of intimidation. People see a hyena and think scavenger. They don't get the point. Fura's clan isn't waiting for scraps. They are running an intelligence agency. Their chuckle isn't laughter. It's a complex transmission of information. This isn't a simple fight for food. It's a cold war fought with strategy, numbers, and social intelligence that is as deep as it is misunderstood. Don't be fooled. Fura's strategy is patience, observation, and meticulous calculation. Their power isn't built on the same foundation of overwhelming strength that defines Mako's rule. A direct and symmetrical confrontation with the marsh pride, at its peak, would be costly, a foolish waste of energy and lives. Instead, the hyena's competitive strategy is asymmetric. They leverage their superior numbers, their seemingly endless stamina, and their tight social cohesion against the individual strength of the lions. Fura's dominance is a dominance of information. The success of their clan depends on knowing the lions' movements and their hunting patterns, and, most importantly, their moments of vulnerability. The clan's daily routine is a continuous intelligence-gathering exercise, patrolling the territory's edges, marking with potent scent signals, and listening, always listening, for the sounds of a hunt, the frantic calls of distressed prey, or the revealing circle of vultures, signaling a recent kill. They are constantly probing the lion's defenses, testing their resolve, waiting for an opening, a moment when Mako is absent, or when the lionesses are exhausted and fewer in number after a tough and draining hunt. Fura's power isn't measured in muscle, but in mind. She is building her army and waiting for the right moment. For she knows better than anyone that the balance of power in Savuti is as fleeting as water in the Channel. Beyond the great politics of the plains, a solitary life hangs by a thread. Far from the great political battles of lions and hyenas, a different kind of existence unfolds, one defined by solitude, stealth, and perpetual vigilance. This is the world of the leopard Safi. She is the most elusive of Savuti's great predators. A ghost in the forests and the purple granite outcrops known as kopjes, which punctuate the landscape like ancient sleeping beasts. Her power doesn't come from strength or social cooperation, but from her deep ability to remain invisible, to blend into the dappled light and shadows of the forest. As a solitary hunter, Safi's life is a masterpiece of risk management. She can't rely on brute strength of a pack or the overwhelming numbers of a clan. Her survival depends entirely on ambush and stealth, her beautifully spotted coat providing near-perfect camouflage against the sun-dappled foliage and lichen-covered bark of the trees. She pursues smaller prey. The agile steenbok, whose delicate tracks betray its presence, or the shy duiker, which slips through the underbrush. The hunt, or the shy duiker, which slips through the underbrush. The hunt. There is a slow and methodical process of closing the distance inch by inch, silently, until it can launch a final, explosive burst of speed. But its solitude is both its greatest strength and its deepest weakness, although this allows it to operate largely undetected by its larger, more dangerous rivals. It also means it has no allies, no one to watch its back, no one to help defend a meal. This precarious balance is sharply highlighted by the immense demands of motherhood for a female leopard. Raising cubs in this landscape is an act of extraordinary dedication in a world full of dangers. At every step, Safi must leave her young hidden for hours, sometimes days. As she embarks on the lonely and dangerous business of hunting, her den is a carefully chosen sanctuary, a dense thicket, impenetrable to larger bodies, a deep crevice within the ancient granite of a kopje, or a dark cave, hidden from the sky, anything, and to hide her vulnerable offspring from the ever-watchful eyes and sharp noses of lions and hyenas. Every hunt is a race against time and a test of nerves. The longer she stays out, the greater the risk that her scent trail will be crossed, or that the weak whimpers of her cubs will be heard by a passing predator. The reality on the ground, for leopard cubs, is grim, a strong testament to the harshness of their world. In southern Africa, even within the relative safety of protected areas like Savuti, the odds are against them. Other predators, especially lions and hyenas, and will remove a future competitor without a second thought. Rival male leopards also pose a threat, driven by the instinct to clear the way for their own lineage. The loss of Safi's own daughter, a deep and invisible drama that unfolded in the silent heart of the bush, is not an anomaly. It is a reflection of the relentless odds against her from the moment of birth. Safi's existence offers a crucial counter-narrative to the dynastic ambitions of lions and the strategic patience of hyenas. For her, their empire is not a kingdom to be conquered, but a hostile environment to be navigated with infinite care. Her success is not measured by the size of her territory, but by her ability to move through others' territories unnoticed. Her world is a complex mental map of safe refuges and escape routes. Mainly the strong, the climbable trees where she can secure her meals and find refuge from her powerful rivals. and hidden hunting grounds where she can operate in secret. She represents a third and distinct survival strategy in Savuti, not the overwhelming strength of the marsh pride, nor the cooperative intelligence of the hyena clan, but the calculated, high-risk existence of a solitary specialist. Her story is not about ruling the empire, but outsmarting it, one silent, careful step at a time. Beneath the great drama of the big predators, a different kind of power moves. Through the Savuti bush, a low, black and white battering ram, driven by pure and indomitable will. This is the realm of the honey badger, an animal that does not submit to the rules of empires. It lacks the patient stealth of the leopard, nor the overwhelming strength of the lion. Its main survival tool is a legendary, almost pathological, fearlessness. Its reputation precedes it like a storm. The honey badger is a living lesson in asymmetric warfare. Its thick, rubbery skin is so loose that, if grabbed by a predator, it can turn and bite its attacker from inside its own skin. Its powerful, shovel-shaped claws are less hunting weapons than digging tools, used to dig into the ground in search of beetle larvae, scorpions, and rodents, or to tear apart formidable termite nests. It is a relentless forager, its keen sense of smell guiding it through a world of hidden opportunities. Its most famous prey is the snake. It will attack and consume without hesitation some of the most venomous snakes in the region, its physiology granting it remarkable resistance to their toxins. This solitary belligerence, however, hides a capacity for one of Savuti's most remarkable partnerships. The badger often enters into a unique cooperative relationship, if with the honey guide, a small and unassuming bird. The bird, unable to break into a hive alone, it will guide the honey guide with a specific chattering call to a nest it has located. The honey badger, protected by its thick skin from stings, then tears open the hive with its powerful claws, feasting on the rich larvae and honey inside. Then, the honey guide is rewarded with the leftover beeswax and larvae. It's a rare example of mutualism, a fragile truce in a world of conflict for an animal defined by its refusal to yield. What does this alliance say about the complex and hidden negotiations that sustain all life in this landscape? The abundance of the rainy season is a fleeting gift, a brief chapter in the epic cycle of Savuti. As the months pass, the African sun intensifies its shine and the life-giving rains cease. The dry season, which normally lasts from May to October, it begins to assert its dominance over the landscape. The transformation is deep and relentless. The Savuti Channel, which had turned the region into a lush swamp, now begins its slow and inexorable retreat. The water level drops daily. The floodplains, once shimmering sheets of water, dry up, crack, and turn to dust. The lush grasses, once green and succulent, become fragile, golden stalks whispering in the hot wind. The very earth seems to hold its breath, entering a period of deep austerity. This dramatic environmental change triggers an equally dramatic shift in the distribution of life. The vast migratory herds of zebras and wildebeests, which had formed the very cornerstone of predator diets, can no longer sustain themselves on the parched, nutrient-poor plains, following an ancient instinctive map etched in their collective consciousness. They begin their great exodus. They move in thousands, a river of life, flowing out of the region, heading north toward the permanent waters of the Alilante River system. or south to the vast interior plains. Their journey may cover hundreds of miles, a testament to their desperate quest for survival. Their departure empties Savuti's pantry for the predators left behind. This is a moment of immense pressure. The remaining animals, such as impalas, warthogs, and kudus, become increasingly cautious and focused around the few and dwindling waterholes. And here, in these last refuges, a new and ancient power makes its presence felt with terrifying authority. Nile crocodiles, some living relics older than any lion on the plains, concentrate in the muddy pools and, shrinking, their threatening stillness, with only their eyes and nostrils breaking the surface, add a new layer of danger. Into the simple act of drinking, they are masters of ambush, an ancient and patient form of predation. A constant threat, waiting just below the surface for any animal, large or small, to let down its guard in the face of hunger. The lions of Savuti have, over many generations, developed a remarkable and dangerous tradition. They have learned to hunt elephants. These are not random acts of desperation, but highly specialized and coordinated assaults, requiring immense courage, strength, and teamwork. They are almost always a nighttime event, a strategy that exploits elephants' poorer night vision and lions' superior ability to see in the dark. The pride does not target the massive adult bulls, whose size and power make them virtually invincible, nor the vigilant and aggressive matriarchs, who fiercely defend their families. Instead, they focus their efforts on the most vulnerable members of the herd, the subadults, typically those between the ages of 0 and 4 years. These younger elephants, weaned, but not yet fully integrated into the herd's defensive structure, are more susceptible to being isolated and panicking. The hunt itself is a spectacle of immense power and calculated coordination. Success depends entirely on the collective effort of the pride. The more agile and numerous lionesses typically initiate the attack. They invade a small group of elephants with explosive ferocity. They typically initiate the attack. They charge a small group of elephants with explosive ferocity. Their goal is to create chaos and panic, separating a single terrified individual from the safety of its family. Several lionesses will then try to leap onto the elephant's back, digging their claws in to hold on while relentlessly biting the spine. Their combined weight, acting like a living anchor, and works to slow down the powerful animal. Others may cling to the hind legs, adding to the burden. The goal is singular: to unbalance and dominate the giant. Once the elephant is subdued, the final act can feed the entire pride for several days. A crucial lifeline. In this time of relentless hunger, this dramatic shift in predatory behavior highlights the immense ecological pressure exerted by the drying channel, forcing the swamp rulers into a new and dangerous weight class. The first time you see lions hunting an elephant, the world goes silent. It's a violation of natural law, but it's not malice. It's desperation. The dry channel rewrites the rules. The lions aren't just hunting an elephant, they're hunting a moving mountain. It's the ultimate test of their courage, born from the harshest hardship on Earth. This environmental shift forces every predator to rewrite their survival rules, and the contrast between their strategies is striking. In seasons of plenty, the swamp pride becomes powerful, with a diet of migratory zebras, wildebeests, and buffalo, an apparently endless bounty. But as the plains empty, They are forced into this new and dangerous specialization. Their prey base shifts to resident buffalo, who cling to the last water holes, and, more dangerously, to young elephants. This change is a cultural adaptation, learned and high risk. A disparity gamble that pits the pride against the largest land animals on Earth and pushes the limits of what it means to be a lion. Hyenas, however, play a different game. While lions are forced into a dangerous specialization, the hyena clan doubles down on their main strength: relentless opportunism. Their diet in the rainy season of resident hunting and scavenging gives way to a strategy in the dry season of open conflict. Their superior endurance and bone-crushing jaws become primary assets. In a landscape of scarcity and tough carcasses, meal theft becomes their main tactic, shifting their focus from simple predation to a war of attrition against their exhausted rivals. And for a solitary hunter like the leopard Safi, the rules change once again. Lacking the strength of a pride or clan, her survival has always depended on stealth and a varied diet of smaller prey. As the dry season intensifies, her opportunism is pushed to the extreme. She will hunt anything available: rodents, birds, even fish trapped in the last muddy pools. But this leads to a bigger conflict, forcing her to compete with a higher concentration of dangerous competitors at every scarce water source. For her, stealth is no longer just a hunting technique. It is the primary principle of survival. These divergent paths illustrate a fundamental truth. The dry season is a crucible, relentlessly testing the adaptive limits of every creature. For the swamp pride, it's a dangerous gamble against giants that will determine the fate of their empire. But for other lions isolated from the collective strength of the pride, the hardship is even more severe. And for a queen in the north, the hardship is worsened by the betrayal of a king, while the swamp pride faces the challenge of a declining food supply and the immense risk of hunting elephants. Another drama unfolds to the north. Upstream, along the dried-up channel bed, here the northern pride, led by the lioness Archer, clings to a precarious existence. Lion societies are not immutable monarchies. They are fluid and dynamic entities that split and merge in response to resource availability, internal social pressures. Archer's pride is likely a splinter group, a faction expelled from the noble territory of the Great Swamp and forced into a more marginal territory, with fewer resources and greater uncertainty. Their story is one of abandonment. The formidable male Maku, or Trora, her mate and father of her cubs, shifted his loyalty and precious genetic investment to Kali and the more prosperous swamp pride. This is not a decision born of emotion or fickle loyalty, but of cold, hard evolutionary calculation. A male lion must invest his energy where his offspring have the greatest chance of survival. Archer is left to raise her 6 cubs alone, a monumental task for a small and struggling pride. But her difficulty is about to be worsened by a cruel twist of fate. As her cubs approach reproductive age, their growing size and strength turn them from assets into liabilities. In the eyes of their own father, Mako returns to his old territory not for a reunion, but for a reckoning. In the ruthless world of lions, there is no room for sentimentality. When it comes to preserving a lineage, young males are invariably driven out of their birth pride to prevent inbreeding and eliminate future competition. For the resident males, Mako's actions are a preemptive strike. his offspring with Archer, represent a potential future challenge to his own dominance and, more importantly, to the survival of his new cubs with Kale. He cannot and will not tolerate their presence. He will either dominate them in a quick and fierce confrontation or, as is more common with subadults, exile them from his realm. They are forced into a dangerous nomadic life, a period of immense vulnerability where the chances of survival are extraordinarily low. They must now navigate a hostile world, full of rival males and established prides, without a territory to call their own. This harsh reality is a central principle of lion society. When new males take over a pride, they have a grim reproductive strategy. More powerful, they will remove any dependent cubs of the previous regime. This act causes the lionesses to become receptive again, allowing the new rulers to start their own dynasty without delay, within the very limited window of 2 to 3 years typical of their reign. Mako's expulsion of his own sons is the relentless extension of this same principle. He is pruning his own family tree to protect his primary genetic investment. The family drama of abandonment and exile is, in fact, a clear and lucid demonstration of resource allocation and competitive exclusion. The fundamental and unsentimental forces shaping lions' reproductive strategy. In this unfolding world, a different kind of family emerges. While the established powers of Savuti, lions and hyenas struggle with the increasing pressures of the dry season, a different kind of contender appears on the fringes of the empire. They are a small pack of African wild dogs, also known as painted wolves, for their uniquely patterned coats, led by the alpha pair Zola and Husky. They are not conquerors seeking a throne, but refugees navigating a dangerous landscape. Their lives are a testament to the power of cooperation and resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. The African wild dog, Lycaon pictus, is one of the continent's most endangered large carnivores. With an estimated population of only a few thousand adults remaining in the wild, their continued existence hangs by a thread. Botswana, with its vast unfenced protected areas, serves as a crucial stronghold, harboring a significant portion of the remaining population in the world. However, even here, in this relative sanctuary, their life is one of constant movement and imminent threat. Wild dogs are nomadic by nature, requiring immense home ranges that can extend over hundreds of square miles. This roaming lifestyle makes them highly vulnerable to habitat fragmentation and puts them in frequent, often fatal, conflict with humans and other predators. The wild dog's survival strategy is built on an unmatched foundation of social cohesion. The pack is an extended family centered around a dominant alpha pair, in this case Zola and Raske, who are typically the only members to breed. However, the immense responsibility of raising the pups is communal. The entire pack participates in a display of altruism rarely seen in the animal kingdom. Subordinate members act as dedicated hunters and vigilant babysitters. They have a unique and remarkable practice of allowing vulnerable pups to eat first during a hunt, with adults often regurgitating meat to feed the young, the alpha female nursing, and any sick or injured packmates. This radical cooperation is the social glue that holds their fragile society together. As hunters, they are endurance specialists, unlike the ambush tactics of big cats. Wild dogs are trackers, relentlessly chasing their prey, mainly medium-sized antelopes like impalas, over long distances. They work as a team, perfectly synchronized, communicating with subtle postures and a complex series of sharp calls. Their teamwork, honed to an art, gives their hunts a surprisingly high success rate, making them one of Africa's most efficient predators. Despite their hunting skill, they live on the edge, occupying the dangerous, unclaimed spaces between the territories of their more powerful rivals. Lions are their mortal enemies, removing them not for food, but to eliminate competition. Whenever the opportunity arises, spotted hyenas, with their superior numbers and strength, often harass them and steal their hard-earned meals from the small Zola and Raski pack. Survival on the lion and hyena-dominated Savuti landscape is a matter of constant vigilance, speed, and avoidance. Their presence adds another layer of complexity to the ecosystem, showing that brute force dominance isn't the only path to survival, where lions have overwhelming strength and leopards have perfected stealth. Wild dogs have evolved social synergy. Their pack operates as a single superorganism, and their fierce loyalty to each other isn't sentimental, but a fundamental requirement for survival. At the end of the day, losing even a few members can compromise hunting efficiency and the long-term viability of the entire pack, making every life precious and every threat existential. And this is about to be tested like never before. A wild dog pack is a masterclass in radical cooperation. Pups eat first. The sick are cared for. It's a social contract that defies the brutal selfishness seen elsewhere. But that same altruism is their vulnerability. They are a delicate chain of loyalty in a world of iron-fisted rivals. Losing one link risks shattering the entire chain. Now, as the lions weaken, the patient queen of the shadows, it's her move. As the dry season reaches its peak, the sun relentlessly scorches a landscape, baked and barren. The ecological balance of the great swamp, once so firmly in the lion's favor, now tilts dramatically. The swamp pack, weakened by hunger and the immense physical cost of hunting elephants, becomes vulnerable. This is the moment Fura, the hyena queen, has been waiting for. Her strategy of patience, observation, and calculated risk is about to pay off. The dry season, a time of deep hardship for lions, is a golden opportunity for hyenas. Their legendary endurance, less specialized diet, and unique ability to sustain themselves on dry bones and tough hide give them a distinct and decisive advantage in this harsh environment. Fura's clan, now bolstered by the survival of a new generation of recruits, has the numbers and confidence to mount a direct challenge. It's no longer about snatching leftovers on the fringe or harassing a lone lioness. This is a strategic campaign to overthrow the swamp rulers. The hyena's offensive is a war of attrition, fought over every large carcass the lions manage to bring down. They employ a tactic known as mobbing, a display of collective power and psychological warfare. The clan coordinates its actions, surrounding the kill site with a cacophony of intimidating howls, growls, and their infamous, unsettling laughs. They launch bold, swift attacks designed to destabilize and overwhelm the besieged lions, testing their resolve and exploiting their exhaustion. Although an adult male lion, like Mako, remains a formidable obstacle, an island of fierce power, the lionesses, often exhausted and wounded from hunting, they cannot always withstand the relentless pressure of a large and determined clan. Each big prize becomes a focal point. In for the entire Savuti scavenger guild, a noisy and chaotic assembly, governed by a strict and ruthless hierarchy. At the top are the lions, the primary predators. Just below them are the spotted hyenas, the only competitors, capable of directly challenging them. When these two titans clash, their intense conflict creates opportunities for the lower levels, black-backed jackals, cunning and powerful monitor lizards. They patrol the edges of the fight, their eyes constantly assessing the situation. They strike with lightning speed to snatch what they can amid the chaos. Their survival, depending on their ability to exploit the disorder created by their superiors. Above, another hierarchy unfolds against the pale, dusty sky. Vultures, with their exceptional vision, are often the first to spot the signs of a successful hunt. Miles away, they spiral down from incredible heights. Their descent signals the location to all who can see. They gather in the trees in a growing vortex of anticipation, but they also have to wait their turn. Different species are equipped for different tasks. The large and powerful red-headed vultures, and with their strong, hooked beaks, are often needed to act as openers, tearing through the tough hide of a large animal. Their actions ensure access to the softer tissues inside for less powerful species, like the numerous white-backed vultures. Finally, the hooded vultures, smaller and more delicate, move in to pick up the last scraps, ensuring the carcass is cleaned almost to the bone. The dispute between lions and hyenas is more than just a fight for dominance. It is the engine that drives the entire scavenger economy of Savuti. The conflict breaks the lion's monopoly on large prey, dismantling carcasses and distributing a vital source of protein and fat throughout the food web, sustaining countless other species. The takeover offensive is indeed a hostile acquisition that, paradoxically, it provides a crucial service to the ecosystem. It is an ecological tipping point, made visible at the moment when the intelligence, strategy, patience, and superior social cooperation of the hyenas begin to outmatch the brute force, individual strategy of the lions. Their victory, even if temporary, is a powerful demonstration that, in this harsh environment, adaptability and collective action can be more powerful than individual strength. However, just as the internal war reaches its peak, a much greater threat emerges from the wild. At the moment when the swamp pride is staggering under the relentless pressure of the hyenas and the ever-present, painful reality of hunger, a new and far more existential threat emerges from the wild. A coalition of nomadic male lions appears at the territory's borders. The life of a nomad is one of perpetual effort, a constant and desperate search for territory to claim and a pride to conquer. Their sole biological purpose is to overthrow the reigning rulers and establish their own genetic dynasty. To achieve this, they form powerful coalitions, often with brothers or cousins, because larger groups have a significantly greater chance of success in the fierce, high-risk world of pride takeovers. The history of Africa's lion populations is filled with legends of such groups, whose intense campaigns carved vast territories in Savuti. A similar force is at work. A new and powerful coalition has arrived on the scene. Their goal is singular and clear: Aku and his dominion over the swamp pride's rich prize. The confrontation is inevitable, and when it happens, it is swift and ruthless. The intruders announce their presence with deep, resonant roars that travel for miles across the dry plains, a direct and unmistakable challenge to the resident king. The ensuing duel is a brutal test of strength, endurance, and will. It is a whirlwind of claws and teeth, a chaotic explosion of ferocity, where a single misstep or a moment of hesitation can lead to a definitive outcome. Maku, already weakened by the hardships of the dry season and now facing a united front, and determined younger, stronger rivals, is finally overpowered. His reign comes to a swift and conclusive end. With the king deposed, the new males turn their attention to the pride itself. Their first act is a grim necessity of their conquest. They execute their powerful reproductive strategy, removing all the young and dependent cubs of the previous regime. This is not an act of rampant cruelty, but behavior driven by powerful and inescapable evolutionary logic. By removing their predecessors' offspring, they not only eliminate the lineage of a genetic rival, but crucially bring the nursing lionesses back to a receptive state. This allows the new kings to begin siring their own heirs immediately, maximizing their chances of success within the short tenure. For 2 to 3 years, they can typically expect to hold the pride, before they too are challenged by the next generation of nomads. For Kali and the other lionesses, it is a moment of deep tragedy and a terrible, pragmatic choice. They can try to defend their cubs in a desperate and often futile act of maternal courage, putting their own lives at great risk. But ultimately, they are powerless against the new regime. Their only viable long-term option is to submit and accept the new rulers. The takeover of the pride is a biological coup d'etat, a forced change in the governance of their society. The removal of the cubs is the grim but essential policy of the new regime to consolidate their power and secure their legacy. This single, intense event fundamentally reshapes the genetic future of the pride. It is a harsh and efficient natural selection mechanism, ensuring that only the strongest and most capable male coalitions pass on their genes, constantly testing and renewing the vitality of the species. The personal tragedy for Kali is an integral and inevitable part of the lion's long-term evolutionary saga. In the dust of a fallen kingdom, every survivor pays a terrible price. The climax of the dry season leaves a landscape of survivors, each carrying the deep and lasting scars of the crucible. The empire has fractured, its dominant powers tested to their absolute limits, and the terrible cost of resistance is etched into the history of every major player in this drama. For Akar, the abandoned queen of the north, the season has been one of total and painful loss. Her cubs, the hope of her lineage, were taken to the dangerous life of nomads by their own father, and their fate is unknown. Her pride, now a mere shadow of what it once was, and without the critical protection of a resident male, is dangerously vulnerable to every threat roaming the plains. She is reduced to the most desperate of strategies, scavenging. She must now follow the sounds of conflict and the circle of vultures waiting to gather enough sustenance from the remains of others to feed her few remaining loyal followers. Her royal lineage now depends on the charity of carrion. For Safi, the solitary leopard, the price has been the loss of half her future. One of her 2 precious cubs disappeared without a trace, a silent victim of the numerous dangers stalking an unattended den in this hostile land. Her existence is now a heightened state of anxiety. her focus narrowed to a single desperate point: the survival of her only remaining cub. The maternal dilemma she faces each day is razor sharp. Staying to guard him means both risk starvation. Leaving to hunt risks losing everything she has left. Her ingenuity is pushed to its absolute limits, forcing her to exploit any available food source, even fish trapped in the last muddy pools of a drying waterhole, a testament to the supreme adaptability demanded of a lone survivor. In a world of giants, for Zola and Raske, the alpha pair of the painted wolf pack, the dry season dealt a devastating blow. They lost half their litter of pups, a victim of predation or starvation. For a species as intensely social and critically endangered as the wild dog, this is a catastrophe of the highest order. Their cooperative hunting model and long-term viability depend entirely on numbers. A large, healthy pack can hunt more efficiently and defend their meals more effectively against hyenas. The loss of so many pups severely compromises the pack's future, a strong and painful reminder of their fragile status in an ecosystem dominated by larger, more powerful predators. And for the swamp pack, in the very heart of the empire, the price has been the most dramatic and complete. Their dynasty was overthrown. Their pups disappeared. Innocent victims of the consolidation of power by the new regime. Their queen Kali. She was forced to submit to new kings, yet, in her submission, lies the seed of resilience. By accepting the new males, she ensures her own survival and the continuation of the pack itself. She will begin the life cycle anew, under a different and more powerful banner. The empire has not fallen. Its leadership has simply changed hands in a ruthless but necessary transition. The endless political saga of Savuti continues. Written in perseverance and dictated by the unyielding laws of survival. But an empire is more than its king. And the true ruler of Savuti always returns after months of relentless heat and choking dust. A subtle change happens in the air. The sky, once an endless, pale, relentless blue, begins to gather bruise-colored clouds on the distant horizon. The first drops of rain fall, large and heavy, hitting the parched earth and releasing the rich, earthy scent of petrichor. The smell of life returning. The suffocating grip of the dry season is broken. The rains, which typically arrive around November, signal a deep and miraculous renewal. Throughout the Savuti ecosystem, the transformation is swift and dramatic. The dormant grasses, their life force held in reserve deep within their roots, come alive, covering the plains in a vibrant, almost electric green. The Savuti Channel, fed by distant, unseen waters from the highlands of Angola, it begins to swell. The flow can be seen creeping forward, replenishing the swamp and the scattered waterholes that sustain life. With the return of water and fresh pasture, the great migratory herds of zebras and wildebeests reverse their long journey. They return to Savuti in the tens of thousands, their ranks now swollen with newborn calves. Their presence transforming the silent plains into a landscape of sound and movement. The air fills with new sounds, the deep, guttural croaking of giant African bullfrogs in the revitalized swamp, and the rustling wings of vast flocks of desert partridges, making their morning pilgrimage to the water's edge. The males soak their specialized belly feathers to carry water back to their distant chicks along the banks. The piercing cry of the African fish eagle echoes once again. Its hunts, made possible again by the rising, fish-filled waters. The political landscape of the empire has been altered irreversibly. The swamp pack is now reformed, under the firm rule of the new powerful Malis. Kali, the ever-resilient queen, is now their mate. The pack, though marked by the trauma of the takeover, will begin the crucial process of raising a new generation. Their future secured, for now, by the formidable strength of their new protectors. To the south, the Führer hyena clan remains a formidable power. Their numbers strong, and their position as the lion's main rival firmly cemented. They will continue to watch, test, and challenge their influence. A constant check on the lion's absolute dominance. In the north, the diminished Acha pack has somehow survived, as have Safi and her only son. Their quiet resistance, a silent victory against impossible odds. The painted wolf pack, though tragically reduced in number, begins the slow process of regrouping. Their unique cooperative bonds, the key to their recovery and future success. In this time of renewal, it becomes, if you can see the profound influence of the greatest and most impactful landscape architects, the elephants. Throughout the intense drama of predators, they have been a constant presence of their own lives, governed by the great cycle of the seasons. But they are more than just participants or prey. They are ecosystem engineers, their foraging habits knocking down trees to reach the highest leaves, stripping the bark from acacias and opening wide paths through dense thickets, actively shaping the habitat. For all other creatures, this seemingly destructive behavior creates a vital mosaic of open grasslands and dense forests, opening areas for grazing animals, promoting plant diversity, and maintaining the very stage on which the predator dramas unfold. They dig for water in dry riverbeds, with their tusks and feet, creating oases that benefit countless other species. Their dung, rich in undigested seeds, disperses these seeds over vast distances, effectively planting the forests of the future. Their presence is so fundamental to the health of the ecosystem that their own success and overabundance in parts of Botswana are now an ecological concern. With their immense habitat-modifying capacity threatening to unbalance the very system they help create. As the cycle of the seasons completes, a deeper truth about the Savuti Empire becomes clear. The concept of a single, stable kingdom with a permanent ruler is a human narrative. A story we impose on a deeply fluid and dynamic natural system. Power in Savuti is transient, as fleeting as a rainstorm in the Kalahari. The true ruler is the environment itself, primarily the cyclical flow and ebb of the waters that give life to the channel. The balance of power predictably shifts with this cycle. Lions may dominate during the abundance of the rainy season, but hyenas gain a crucial advantage in the scarcity of the dry season. No single entity, no matter how powerful, holds absolute control for long. Rivalries, therefore, are not a flaw in the system, or a simple dispute for a throne. They are the system, the constant competition, the relentless push and pull between lion and hyena, the opportunistic existence of the leopard, the cooperative resilience of wild dogs. These are all different and equally valid strategies for survival in this immensely challenging environment. This perpetual conflict is the engine of natural selection, constantly testing individuals and lineages, ensuring that only the most adaptable, the strongest, and the most resilient pass their genes to the next generation. The endless struggle, and with all its harsh realities, is actually the very mechanism that maintains the long-term health, dynamism, and breathtaking vitality of the Savuti ecosystem. The empire is not defined by its kings, but by the enduring, relentless, and beautiful cycle of rivalry and resilience. Tourists come here looking for kings and kingdoms. They want to see the lion rule. But I tell them, the true king is the water. It comes, it goes. It crowns the lion in the rainy season and the hyena in the dry. The animals are just actors in a much older play. The throne they fight for is only a temporary stage, and the water is the one that raises and lowers the curtain.